What's going on? All right. Yeah, excuse me for being out of breath. I just finished my workout. It's early in the morning. I felt like maybe let me just go to the park and walk it off. But I realized in my last video, I was just kind of rambling. I didn't really explain. First of all, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Sonia. And I didn't really explain, how I, realized that I needed to go to the doctor and see somebody. So I'm gonna just get a little bit into that. I know for people who are dealing with MS, it's probably crazy to hear, or maybe not crazy, but I remember first feeling shooting pains in my teenage years, and it would be like once every blue moon. And I didn't really think about it too hard because, as a kid, you just kind of like whatever. But what made me really make that move to go to the doctor and see what was going on is that I was working security and I do a lot of walking. And initially I thought maybe I was being too hard on myself, or I don't know. Like I was just doing a lot of working and I would experience these shooting pains. And at the time I was dating someone who was in the medical field, and she told me she thought it was a peripheral neuropathy. And at the time I was even in my early 20s and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. But one day it got to a point to where I was literally like laying on the couch throughout the day and just was like these weird, sharp, shooting, electrocuting type of pains in my legs and in my hands. And I was just like, something is going on. So anyway, fast forward, I went to see the doctor, and I seen a few doctors, and I didn't initially just get diagnosed right away. Like it was actually a struggle. That's why I tell people all the time, like, even if it's not MS, whatever it is, and they're not able to figure it out, or, I know doctors aren't, mind readers, or I know they're within their means of what they're taught and what we tell them is going on, but sometimes you do have to advocate for yourself and kind of like push the issue, because it took me, I've seen like multiple doctors before I was actually diagnosed. And what's crazy is that I was even told at one point from a doctor, like, sometimes we just experience pains that we don't know what the cause is, and just kind of like very nonchalant, like, maybe you should just kind of, and at the time I had like a cold or something like that, or the flu. So I think maybe she tried to like say maybe that's what was going on, but I'm like, this isn't any kind of form of muscle ache pain. Like, this is different. And after just pressing the issue, like, no, something is wrong, like somebody do some kind of test, like I'm not tripping, like I'm not making this up, you know what I mean? Because I guess the last doctor tried to make it seem like it was some kind of pseudo type of pain that I was going through. And it got to a point to where I was just very frustrated because I knew something was going on. And I basically seen a doctor, and she told me, how about I, send you to the neurology department and they run some tests. And I'm like, neurology? I'm like, okay. So anyway, I go and I, tell the neurologist what's going on. And, they, put me through the tests. And so basically they first started with MRI. And I received MRIs, head, neck, spine, I think. And, one day I was just, I knew something was wrong because I literally went to get an MRI that day, like in the morning. And then I went to go like grab lunch with some friends. And, I got a call because, I had the hospital saved on my phone. And I was just kind of like, okay, they're calling me like a few hours later, like, so I was already kind of like, And so I answered the phone, and literally, he told me over the phone, like, you have MS, or like, from his findings or whatever, he was explaining the lesions. And at the time, it was just a shock to me, and I didn't really know what to say. I was very emotional because, my sister, her husband's mother has MS. And they've been together and married for years, since I was like a kid, like 10. And I've always remembered that woman to be in a wheelchair. And that was my first thought when he said that. I was just kind of like, oh my God, like, like I'm going to be wheelchair bound, like I'm too young for this. Like, it was just a lot that day. It was a lot. I was very emotional. And yeah, so moving forward, I spent a lot of time doing a lot of crying, feeling sorry for myself, just kind of wondering, like, why did this happen to me? Like, what did I do? And it took me about 6-7 months to actually, like, be like, you know what, like, all this crying, all this that you're doing is not solving anything, it's not helping anything, it's actually stressing you out more. You know what I mean? But I forgot to say, like, after I got the MRIs, they did some kind of test, basically, where they hooked me up. I should know this already. I should probably prepare more for this video, but they kind of, like, hooked my head up to, like, some kind of like if you get an EKG, if you know what that is, like when they analyze your heartbeat, but they kind of like hooked my head up to some kind of, the computer and try to, I don't know, read my waves. I don't really know. But the scariest part about that whole experience and, like, just trying to figure out what was going on in the diagnosis was, like, my spinal tap. And that was crazy to me, because I just was like, you're gonna do what? Like, you're gonna extract fluid from my spine? Like, what? That was crazy. But, I got through that, and like I said, moving forward, I realized, I got to do something about this. So that's why I started, reading more about the things that I should be eating, low inflammatory diet, trying to exercise more, feeding the mitochondria the things that it needs and all that. And the first book that I bought initially was, this is not an ad, but it was Dr. Wall's book. I forget what it was called. It's called, it was just basically a book for dieting for people dealing with autoimmune diseases or whatever. And that was a good starting point for me. But fast forward, now it's 2022. And although I feel like I have significantly cleaned up my diet, because from that point, since 2018, I haven't eaten any, like, meat, as far as, like, chicken, beef, like, pork. I've just strictly been pescatarian. Now, every now and then I will have goat, lamb, things of that nature, like some game, but that's like every blue moon. I've been basically pescatarian this whole time. And I dropped a lot of weight doing that too. Initially I started off at, like, I was probably like 198, so just 200 pounds, let's just say. And when I started eating fish, I significantly dropped the weight, and I started feeling better. But now I'm just kind of realizing, like, yeah, like, you need to do a little more. And like I said in the last video, I kind of just want to, show people, what we go through, and, a little perspective, and, like, kind of try to build a community of people where we can help each other. I went to a few MS groups, back then, a few years ago, when this whole thing was new to me. And I have to tell you, it scared me, because those groups, I feel like they were dedicated more to, like, older people, and people, or not older, but people who just were diagnosed and probably progressed a little faster than I have. And that was not the best experience. Like, those people, some of them were in wheelchairs, some of them had canes, and mind you, these people were like late 30s, early 40s, 150-year-old, and very wheelchair bound, blind, you know what I mean? And I don't think that was the best thing for me. I can't speak for everyone else, but it kind of made it be even more real for me, but not in a positive way. And I'm not saying not go, because everyone's different, you know what I mean? It might work for you, but it didn't work for me. And so I've just been trying to find some kind of support thing that can actually work for me. Not that I don't have supportive friends and family, but it's only so much support and understanding that you can have if you're not dealing with it yourself. And so that's what I'm trying to do now. And I do have to get out of here soon, but I just wanted to kind of share my experience a little bit more, because that video was kind of rushed last time. And again, like I said, I'm still trying to figure this out. I tilted my phone because I seen last time it was just like, I don't know, I'm still trying to get used to this. So like I said, if you have any, like, tips or whatever as far as, like, how I need to be videoing, or like I said, workouts, I just did a few little high interval training workouts, very light, you know what I mean, because I try to keep it light. I don't want to over exacerbate or just overwork myself, because you know how we get when we're fatigued. But anyway, okay, I'm rambling. I need to go make my breakfast and get my day started. So, take care, and I'll see you guys on the next video.